Guess who's back, 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 back again, again. Jordan Walker's back, back, back. Tell a friend, friend, friend. Guess who's back, guess who's back, guess who's back, guess who's back, guess who's back. Guys, we got a gripping episode for you today with must-add waiver wire players heading into the weekend on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source for fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, joined as always by my co-host, my partner in crime, my best friend, Matthew Ane.
Yeah. Thank you for the great karaoke session, my friend. That made my night.
Yes, I did my best Eminem Slim Shady impression. But guys, you can find us on all social media platforms, and if you're listening on one and podcasting apps, and if you're listening on one like Spotify or Apple that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. Also, if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode, and it also subscribes to the channel. And once again, if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to like and comment because we love to talk fantasy baseball with you. Today's episode is brought to you by the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, always guaranteed. And Locked On Fantasy Baseball fans, we have a fully loaded episode for you today. Let us be your team secret weapon, as always, while we provide you with must-add waiver wire players heading into the weekend. And, Matt, that's quite a lot for me here at the top. And somebody we talked about yesterday, big news, big news.
Yeah, I mean, we can't bury the lead here. Mr. Jordan Walker. Obviously, my guy has finally been called back up to the bigs after them doing him absolutely dirty. And I won't go off on a tangent or repeat anything I said yesterday, but I do need to get into what he was doing over the last couple of days because it's actually been, just monstrosity with his slash line of 292, 386, 542 in the minors over the past 2 weeks. I mean, the promotion has been, kind of seen by Dom. And not really by me. I didn't think it was going to be this soon, but I guess with like Newt Bar really not performing or anybody really running away with the job, I guess it was just, hey, let's get Jordan Walker back. He broke camp for a reason, and let's see what he can do because now it's time. And apparently his defense has been better, so that's one of the main reasons, air quote, really control to get Jordan Walker back up now and call it a day. So Jordan Walker is a 100% add right now. So pretty much just pause this, come back tomorrow, come back and say, oh, I got Jordan Walker before everybody else. Because quite honestly, I mean, if you don't add him, you're smoking the funny stuff here. And he's about 42% owned. So he's out there. And I would 100% take advantage if he is.
Yeah, Matt. You said it perfectly, read my mind. Pause the podcast moment, get Jordan Walker. I'd love to see how much owned he's going to be by, tomorrow morning. I think that's going to fly up here overnight. I think Jordan Walker is going to be at like 70, 80% before, tomorrow ends heading into the weekend. Once again, if you don't know Jordan Walker, he was a third base prospect. They moved him to outfield because obviously he's not going to overtake Nolan Arenado at third base. 6'6", 245, mountain of a man. He has the upside of like a Ronald Acuna light. Very good speed, very good homer potential, as Matt mentioned. He has been raking down so far in the minors over the last about 12 games, it looks like. And, he had a 12-game hitting streak to start his career. I don't think the Cardinals gave him a fair shake. And trust me, Jordan Walker is going to come up with something to prove after being sent down, not giving a chance. This kid's going to come up. I don't think he's going to get sent back down, and I think he's going to put his name into the hat for that NL Rookie of the Year race. But I think that's enough about Jordan Walker. We did a deep dive on him yesterday. I think that's a deep enough dive for him today. Once again, Jordan Walker, though, had 19 bombs, 22 steals in 2022 in the minors in 119 games, 461 at-bats, hit 306. Sky is the limit for the kid. Pick him up now. Let's move on to somebody else, though, that I'm pretty high on, that we've talked about on this podcast before. And, once again, just like the kid, Alex Kiriloff. The Twins are doing pretty good over there with, Royce Lewis coming up, Kiriloff. They look like they're going to be a force to be reckoned with here, especially if guys like Correa can get going, if Gallo can pick it back up because he's been struggling of late. But on the year, Kiriloff, 314, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, 11 runs. He's looking solid so far. I think he's going to, start breaking out sooner than later, too. Over the last 2 weeks, it's a stat line of 5 runs, 1 homer, 5 RBIs, 294 batting average for Kiriloff. He's eligible first and outfield on Yahoo. I think he's worth a shot. Did I mention his ownership percentage? I don't think I did. 21% on Yahoo for Kiriloff. Go give him an ed. Guy's got a little bit of power in that bat. Where has he been hitting in the lineup? He's been hitting actually like second, which is, pretty cool. Well, he hit second in his last game, hit third the game before that. He's been at the top of the lineup. He's been in like the top 4 slots of the lineup pretty consistently. Kiriloff's still only 25 years old. He's shown a lot of flashes in the minors over the past few years. In 2022 in the minors, Kiriloff hit 359, 10 homers, 7 doubles, 33 RBIs. 32 RBIs, 33 runs over 35 games. So think about that. He had 10 homers in 35 games with a run per game, almost an RBI per game. Not really much of a steals guy, but there's power in that bat. If that power starts to play up, goes on a little bit of surge, grab him before the rush. Once again, Alex Kiriloff, Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, great take, Dom, honestly. I mean, I really can't even add anything to that. Fantastic. Let's just move on here. Let's talk about Mr. Gary Sanchez. Finally, we'll throw a catcher into the mix. Gary isn't like blowing you off the page here, but I mean, in the last, like, I'm going to say, what is this? 11 at bats, right? He has three runs, 2 bombs, 4 ribs, and he's batting probably about like 301 if I really tried to do the math. He's not like a long-term play as much as I wish. But, he's not on the Yankees anymore, so I wish him all the worst. And pretty much he's kind of like a ride-the-wave guy. Catcher's been absolutely horrendous. And, any kind of spark you can take and get the extra production out of the catcher's position, you kind of want to take advantage. So if you have somebody you're really not like attached to, I would scoop up Gary Sanchez and just, ride the wave on him until, the wheels fall off, and which could be next week for all that matters. And then you just move on to the next catcher. The next catcher is probably one of the positions you probably can stream at this point if you did not get a top-end catcher. Or if you just drafted Alejandro Kirk. This is just the situation you're in. So Gary Sanchez could at least be a bump for you in that section. That's it.
Yeah, with Gary, as you said, Matt, and I don't wish him the worst, but now that he's not with the Yankees anymore, I could kind of, give or take Gary Sanchez. But it is noteworthy. He's over there in San Diego now. He started the last 3 games for them, homers in back-to-back games. He's there with some of his, his brothers, hanging out with, the likes of Soto and Tatis and Machado, guys that he's all, familiar with. I think Gary, could still hit, 230. I'm sure he still has some pop in that bat. He had 16 home runs last year in 128 games. The year before that, he had 23 in 117 games. So there's still some upside with Gary Sanchez, and I think he's found like a new breath of life over there. He's going to be playing a decent amount. I don't know if he's going to play. No catcher really plays every day, but I think he's going to get some burn there. What's his name is hurt over there. Luis Campusano. Austin Nola has been really nothing to snuff at over the last few years of his career. So I think, Gary Sanchez is worth the add. He's only 2% owned on Yahoo. As I always like to point out with these guys that are very lowly owned, if you're in a deeper league, you're in an NL only 15-man 2-catcher league. If Gary Sanchez is out there in a 2-catcher league, I would give him the shot. If your second catcher is doing absolutely nothing, pick up Gary Sanchez now and just see where the thing goes. But before we move on to some guys like we got Gio Urshela, we got big game James Paxton coming up, we got a little Logan Allen talk coming up, some other great must-add players heading into the weekend. We got a little sponsor for you. Have you ever tried to buy tickets to see your favorite artist or sports team and wound up being stressed out by how much of a hassle it can be? Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. That's why you need to check out the Gametime app. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Using the Gametime app is super rewarding with flash deals on last-minute tickets, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area, images and views from the seats you'll be sitting in, lowest price guarantee, and event cancellation protection. I mean, there's certainly a reason it's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price always guaranteed. And as always, we want to thank our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. Be sure to look out for a new episode tomorrow where Matt and I actually cross over with Locked On Rockies. It is a very, very good one, guys. You know, Paul over at Locked On Rockies is a great guy. We talk about some of our all-time favorite Rockies. We talk about some current Rocky situations. We talk about Chris Bryant. Fortunately, the conversation came before he hit the IL. But, you know, it is what it is. And just real quick, if you're not already subscribed on YouTube, we're almost at 2,000 subscribers. Please hit the subscribe button and share us with a few friends that also like fantasy baseball or just some friends that like baseball in general. We'd truly be grateful for your support. But, Matt, I'm out of breath over here, my brother. I think you got to take the next guy.
No worries, man. All right, let's talk about Mr. Gio Urshela. My guy is like a Swiss Army knife right now. He's got first, third, and short eligibility. He had a great last week with, 2 runs, a bomb, 4 ribs, a stolen base, and batting .364. You know my rule right here. Batting average off the waiver wire is an absolute must. Over 2 weeks, he's batting .350, and over the last month, .315. Urshela with the multiple position eligibility, the batting average, and the fact that he's at least contributing in 5 categories is kind of somebody that I wouldn't mind adding right now and just riding the wave and see how long this could take me. Because, I mean, these off days are becoming brutal. Today, when we're recording on Thursday, I have like 6 guys that are not playing today. You know, Gio Urshela probably would have fit in nice. So, you know, it's one of those guys that can help you pass through and get the job done. So 100% pick up Gio Urshela.
Yeah, Matt, I've always been a huge Gio Urshela guy, and kind of like almost like Gary Sanchez because Gary let us down. Gio is always a good Yankee, so he's actually somebody that I still root for, even though that he's left. Over the past 2 weeks, Gio's numbers aren't blowing you away, but they're pretty solid. With 3 runs, a home run, 7 RBIs, 2 steals, and he's batting .350 over that time. He hasn't been hitting too high in the lineup. He's kind of been moving around from that 7 and 6 spot. But you know what? The RBIs are good batting behind guys like Trout, Ohtani, and Renfroe. So, you know, definitely some upside here for Urshela. As you mentioned, the Swiss Army knife for multi-positional eligibility. Gio Urshela's a career .280 batter, so you can count on a solid batting average. Like, I'm surprised by the steals. He's never really been a steals guy. But I think the RBIs are going to be nice for him in that lineup. Home runs, you know, maybe he hits you 15 to 18. So he'll be all right in that category, but not really over the top type of home run guy. So with Gio Urshela, 30% owned on Yahoo, I think he's definitely worth the add in some of those deeper leagues. I'm not adding him in, you know, the shallower type format. But, you know, Matt, as you said, just throw him in on days when guys aren't playing or, there's a day where, somebody gets hurt, something like that. He could be a fill-in until, that guy comes back or something along the lines of that. But let's move on to our next guy. And I'll be honest with you guys. I don't like to BS you guys. We're going to talk about Willi Castro, somebody I'm not really super familiar with here, but he's been pretty good of late. If you want to talk about another Swiss Army knife, Willi Castro of the Minnesota Twins is eligible at second, third, short, and outfield, which is quite amazing. He's been red hot as of late. He's been a steals, not just a steals specialist because he's been contributing in other categories as well. But the steals have been phenomenal. Willi's got 10 steals on the season. He's got 5 in the last 2 weeks. In the last 2 weeks, Willi Castro has 10 runs, 3 homers, 5 RBIs, the 5 steals I already mentioned, and he's batting .357 in that time. definitely not a long-term solution here because, the Twins are, trying to settle in with that lineup, especially with Royce Lewis up, Alex Kiriloff up. But you know what? Willi Castro has been playing a decent amount over the last 2 weeks, bunch of 2-hit games. He threw in a couple of 3-hit games as well. So I think you just give him the shot here. Like I said, I'm not super familiar with him, so I don't want to talk about him too much more. I actually want to see how old he is because, like I said, guys, I'm not
26.
super familiar with this guy. So as I'm getting to know him, oh, there you go. So Matt's already on the point. He's still fairly young. Let's check that minor league track record too real quick. Decent. Never really was a super amazing minor league type player. Looks like he had some big steal seasons. So once again, this guy might be able to steal you 30 bags. Home runs, not really going to contribute. Batting average might be above average. Depending on where you're hitting that Twins lineup, the counting stats might be okay. Not a long-term solution, but somebody that can fill in for now, Willi Castro.
Yeah, I mean, for a kid that's coming out of nowhere for pretty much all fantasy players, he's not a bad pickup. He hits the rule on the batting average. He hits the rule on the stolen bases. Stolen bases are hard to come by. And if you missed out, you can at least take the surplus of while he's hot. And then when he dies off, drop him like he's hot. But, until then, Willi Castro could be somebody that can add a little boost to your lineup. All right. Now, the moment we're all been waiting for. I'm sorry, Chris Sale owners, but he seemed to have gone down. So, unfortunately, it is what it is. We'll see how long or what it is. Maybe it's just a start. Maybe it is what it is, and it's just they had to remove him from this from this game. But it is what it is. Now, here's some replacements. God forbid it's long term. Let's start off with James Paxton. James Paxton has been looking great outside of like one start where he got lit up and had a 15 ERA. His start against Cincinnati at home had a 1.8 ERA and 8 Ks and 1 WHIP. Against San Diego at San Diego, he had a 1.5 ERA, 5 Ks, and a 1.17 WHIP. And then against St. Louis, who has been better of late, he had 9 Ks and a 3.6 ERA with a 1 WHIP. Now, Paxton's looking like his old self. I really do think that, he can give you a long-term solution, and for now, at least until he gets hurt again, or at least make it as long as for Chris Sale to come back. And it's funny they're on the same team, so with Boston being red hot right now, the win possibilities are there, and everything else is under the sun as possible. I guess our internet's a little delayed.
Yeah, I love James Paxton. My internet is off today, folks. So I apologize about that. If you could bear with me. But I do love James Paxton. He's been on fire since he came back. Only one bad start. As Matt mentioned in his last start, absolutely dominant. 5 innings, 8 Ks, gave up 1 run, a 1 WHIP against Cincinnati. Not a tough opponent, but still a dominant performance. I think he had 22 swings and misses in that game. That's a dominant number. That's a very, very high number for any given game. As I mentioned, the Flange brothers, him and Chris Sale, Paxton could go down at any moment. So I'm not counting on him long term, but ride the wave with him. He's not somebody, that I'm dropping. You can go out there and trade him if you can get a lot for James Paxton. By all means, go ahead and do it now before the shoe drops off the other foot. But, with 19 innings pitched this year, he's got 27 strikeouts. The ERA and WHIP are inflated by that 1 bad start, but 3 very good starts, 1 bad start. I'll take those ratios. He gets Cleveland on June 6th. Cleveland hasn't been a great hitting team so far. Their pitching's been what's been carrying them. Paxton at 33% owned. I think that should be closer to 60 or 70 once again until he goes down or gets hurt. But that's James Paxton. Okay, so let's talk about our next guy here. Let's talk about Braxton Garrett. Matt, that's actually your boy. So I'll give a quick take, and then I'll let you break him down a little bit more. We wanted to talk about Braxton Garrett a few weeks back. I think we skipped out on him because he was about to face the Braves, and good thing we did because he got rocked against the Braves. And his next start, he got rocked against Arizona. But his last 4 starts have been pretty good. Even one in Coors that wasn't really that bad. He gave 2 runs in Coors. WHIP was a little bit high, but once again, Coors. His last start against San Diego, though, super, super impressive. 5.1 innings for Braxton, 7 Ks, 1 run, and 0.56 WHIP. He gets Kansas City next week on June 5th, which Kansas City has not been very good at all. Braxton Garrett's 15% owned. Definitely a deeper league play at the moment. I think he's somebody definitely worth picking up, seeing where this goes. He had a very, very good end to last season. A lot of strikeouts for Braxton Garrett last year. And on the year's numbers aren't horrible. 4.22 ERA, 1.31 WHIP, 53 innings, 54 Ks. He's a young buck. Definitely somebody worth picking up and seeing where it goes. Once again, that's Braxton Garrett, starting pitcher for the Miami Marlins.
Yeah. Braxton Garrett, if I would have known he had a rotation spot this year, he actually would have been ranked. And he would have been ranked in my top 70 pitchers. I really do like Braxton Garrett's upside. Now, he's not going to be a long-term play because, one, we don't know how long he's going to be in this line, in this rotation, and two, he's still matchup dependent. He's definitely not matchup proof, but I like what he's been doing. I mean, out of the last 4 games, he had a 7K game, and 2 8K games, and only 1 3K game. That's solid as hell. And those are all games with, a mid-3 ERA or lower. And actually, it's 1 mid-3 ERA and sub-2. So he is putting it together here. I really like what he's doing. He's doing against good opponents, and especially at Colorado. Braxton Garrett has the upside. He's usually about a K per 9 kind of guy. He looks like he's been able to keep his ERA down like he did last year for a short stint in 88 innings. And he's a little high right now, but it's super inflated from a start that he had a 22 ERA. So if he keeps going on this trend, the ERA is definitely going to fall down below the sub to the sub 4 level and probably finish the year on a mid 3s ERA. I do like Braxton Garrett's upside, so definitely take a look at him. But let's move on. Thank you for letting me have that, Dom. And before we do, we have some other great sponsors to talk about, but I want to let you know who's coming up. We have Logan Allen, Clarke Schmidt, and a name we didn't think we were going to talk about ever this year, and that's Julio Teheran. All right, guys, thank you so much for being patient. And without further ado, let's talk about Mr. Logan Allen. Logan Allen, I am very surprised at what his ownership is because, quite honestly, usually what we try to do is to try to stay with names that, are usually under, 60%, right? And I figured Logan Allen would be much higher owned, but he's only 36% owned, so guys are sleeping on him. He is killing it out there. And quite honestly, if you haven't heard of him, let me tell you about him. 39 innings pitched on the season. He has 2 wins, 43 Ks, a 2.72 ERA with a 1.31 WHIP. WHIP is a little high, but to be expected with a young pitcher in the league. I mean, he is pitching out of his mind. I am so proud of this kid. With going up against Baltimore, who's been amazing this year, with 10 Ks and not giving up a single run and a sub-1 WHIP. Going out against the White Sox, getting 5 Ks, only having a 1.59 ERA. And it's a little bit earlier, April 30th, against Boston, while they're hot streak right there, 8 Ks, a 3.6 ERA. Logan Allen has been very, very, very serviceable. And honestly, if you're looking at any waiver wire right now, pitching has been hard to come by. So if you see Logan Allen on there and you haven't picked him up yet, you're making a grave mistake, and do it now. This is another one. Stop the podcast and go pick him up because I promise you, he could be one of those guys that have the long-term value. So he's actually my number 1 pitcher out of this whole podcast. So scoop him up if he's available.
Yeah, man, that's some high praise for Logan Allen. To be honest with you, I'm not. I like him. I'm not as high as him as you are. I do like Logan Allen. I'd probably take James Paxton over him if I had my choice of any of these guys that we're talking about today. But Logan Allen would be number 2. I'm not going to lie to you. Logan Allen would be number 2. That start against Baltimore really, really impressed me. It could have went either way for me with Logan Allen. If that start against Baltimore went lopsided where he gave 4 or 5 runs and just didn't look good, I'd be like, all right, that's it for him. But that start did impress me. The 10 Ks was huge for him. In the minors, he has a track record of being a pretty solid K guy. So I think the Ks are really what's going to keep him in that rotation. And the thing is, they do have some guys come back. McKenzie's coming back on Sunday. If you haven't heard, that's Tristan McKenzie. Savale's pitching, today as you guys are listening to this, which is, Friday. So he's fighting. He's fighting for his life to stay in that rotation. I think Cal Quantrill officially has left the rotation. So it looks like there still might be a spot for him there for a while. The upside is there. As I mentioned, he gets Minnesota next week. Once again, I'm talking about Logan Allen for the Cleveland Guardians. He's 36% owned on Yahoo. As Matt mentioned, that's way too low. Needs to be at least 60, 70% owned for Logan Allen. I think he'd give him a shot and ride the wave. Don't know if he's going to wind up being a long-term solution. I do have Gavin Williams, sitting in the, wind, waiting for him to mess up. All right, my brother, I see you want to hop in there. Go for it.
Yeah, I just want to say I think his rotation slot is pretty much locked in because of the fact that they're looking to trade Bieber. So this is all the
Yeah, that'd be
rumors
interesting if they do.
because they do need some offensive push and they can get a lot for Bieber. And with Gavin Williams in the wing, like you're saying, and with all the guys they've called up, Bieber would be the perfect person to ship off right now. So I could totally see Allen staying in the rotation and, if anything, going down around the All-Star break. One, to limit innings, and two, the trade deadline's right around that corner after that. So they're probably going to want to move Bieber, and he'll be right back up. So, Logan Allen, short term 100%, and then long term probably about 85% sure. But go ahead, take it back, sir.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. No, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they move Bieber. I think it's the great time to, Bieber's getting a little bit older. I think this is a great time to maximize his value for Cleveland. If they can go out there and get a couple of young bat prospects, go trade with a team like, Baltimore, who's making a run for things, and, get some of those young Baltimore prospects. Or even, this one doesn't make as much sense, but I know the Reds have a lot of young, good prospects as well. Send them over to, Cincinnati, get some of those good prospects. Or, the crazy one would be like the Braves. The Braves have a couple of guys, that they can go out and, give up for a Shane Bieber. Imagine him in the Braves rotation. That would be wicked.
God.
So I could see Logan Allen. I could see Logan Allen sticking around as well. Let's just see where it goes with him, because he wasn't a super talented, wasn't a super praised prospect coming up through the minors, but he did have that one really good year in the minors with a lot of strikeouts, low ERA. So we'll just see where things go with Logan Allen. But he's definitely worth the ad from now. Just pick him up and see where things go. 36% owned on Yahoo's way too low for him. Let's move on to a New York Yankee though, one of our boys. Let's talk about Clarke Schmidt. Clarke Schmidt is, somebody in the Yankee circles. He always had, a lot of hype around him, got a good breaking ball, seen him pitch pretty good in spring training a few times. Never really lived up to the hype, though. And even this year, if you look at his, whole year numbers, you're like, Dom, what are you talking about Clarke Schmidt for? His ERA is inflated. He hasn't really been great. But his last few starts have been better. And Clarke Schmidt is still, he's 27 years old. He's getting a little bit older, but this is like the make or break time in the guy's career, 27, 28. If you're going to make some noise, it has to be around that time. His last start, Clarke Schmidt went against Seattle, May 31st, 5.2 innings, 7 Ks, didn't give up a run, 0.7 whip. The start before that against Baltimore, once again, we're talking about Baltimore, good team, 5 innings, only 4 Ks though, 1.80 ERA, and it was a 1 run, and he gave up a 1.4 whip. So it's not great, but it's better. It equates to over his last 2 weeks, 15 innings, 17 Ks, a win, 1.72 ERA, 1.15 whip, 17% owned for Clarke Schmidt. A little bit of a deeper league play here. He definitely got some strikeout upside. Hopefully he could suppress runs. His ERA on the year is a 5.01, but his FIP, fielding independent pitching, which is an ERA indicator, is a 3.95. His FIP last year was a 3.60, and he pitched to a 3.12 ERA last year, or 57 innings. The whip might be a little bit higher. He's not really a whip guy. Control isn't fantastic. So, but I think you give Clarke Schmidt a shot. You see where things goes. Deeper league play, your AL onlys, your AL onlys, 15-man leagues. Clarke Schmidt, 17% owned. Go give him a shot.
Yeah, fair assessment and great take. Honestly, the only thing I have to add is, his time is limited anyway, so kind of just ride this wave, because once Rodon makes his appearance, Clarke Schmidt is gone. So, it's going to be one of those things, and that's if it even lasts that long.
Yeah, I can see that.
So we'll see what happens with Clarke Schmidt. Let's bring up our last guy here, Mr. Left Field. Oh, what I mean by that is coming out of left field, as Mr. Julio Teheran. My guy has been serviceable through 2 starts. 6 innings pitched against Toronto, didn't give up a single run, only had a 0.67 whip, and got the W, but had no Ks. But, hey, if you're looking for somebody to scoop up off the waiver wire that's able to bring that ERA down if you got lit up a couple times, great move for that start. And then against San Francisco, he had 5 Ks, he had a 1.8 ERA and a 1 whip. Teheran is not somebody I'm running out to get there. He is a desperate play. He's not pitching this weekend, so he look to see who he gets next week. Dom will probably have that information for us. But to finish up here, at 3% owned, and if
the Reds.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Home or away?
It's in Cincinnati, though.
It's a little rough. Like I said, if you had somebody
yeah.
If you had somebody get lit up on Monday or something like that, and then you want to pick him up, I wouldn't blame you to just suppress the ERA. And that's if you can at Reds, American ballpark. But it's one of those things where I at least got to take a look at him and see what's going on. He's not, again, as you can hear from the way I'm talking about him, I'm not too confident in the guy, but he's been serviceable, so hence why we got to bring him up. That's Julio Teheran.
Yeah. It's just so funny. I never thought I would talk about, Julio down by the schoolyard ever again. I remember in 2022, if you guys don't already know, Matt and I are from New York. We're both born and raised in Staten Island. And Mr. Julio Teheran was playing for the Staten Island Ferry Hawks in 2022, they're not a team that's not affiliated with the MLB. They're just, I think they're part of another a league. But he was literally pitching here. He was out here pitching in Staten Island, right? And it was just like, I thought I would never talk about him again. But he's back, as Matt mentioned. He's 11 innings this year. He's got 5 strikeouts. Not really not really a big strikeout guy, and an 0.8 WHIP. I think he's worth a shot. You just throw him out there. Milwaukee's known to work magic with pitchers. They've done it with Corbin Burns. They've done it with Woody, Aaron Ashby, Freddie Peralta. Just they kind of have a good pitching, coaching there. So let's see where, Julio goes. He's 3% owned on Yahoo. And if you're not familiar with him, he's been a vet. He's been around a little bit. It's Julio Teheran. It's Teheran. I think he's worth a shot. I think it's just see how the Cincinnati start goes. You start with a stream. If we were talking pitch and ditch, he probably would have been near the top of, guys to, just grab him and see where things goes. I think he's got a chance to be good against Cincinnati on June 5th. But Matt, unless you got anything else for us, brother, I think we could take it home.
I got a nickname because we've been saying his last name wrong. It's Teheran. So Aaron is going to be the new talk of Julio Aaron.
I like it.
But that's it. I wanted to end on a high note there of the nickname.
Yes, I like that one. It's not as good as the pterodactyl one for Tarek Skubal, but it's still a good one. It's still a good one. But guys, that is all for us today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Check out our website if you already haven't. And truly thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. We want to thank our everydayers and new listeners. As always, wouldn't be where we are without you guys. If you haven't already, subscribe on YouTube. Send it to a couple of friends. We truly appreciate it. And make sure you're on the lookout for our new episode tomorrow with that crossover with Locked On Rockies and our buddy Paul. But until then, see you.
Peace.